Morning. So the article selected for today's Journal Club presentation is single pill combination of empagliflozin and linagliptin in the real world Indian type 2 diabetes patient. And this study was published in Journal of Association of Physicians of India in October 2020. Moderator for this presentation is Dr. Karthik Ram. The prevalence of diabetes and other metabolic diseases are on the rise in developing countries like India. The epidemiological transition occurring in India, the rapid urbanization and economic development in India has led to an epidemiological transition and made it one of the epicenters of diabetic epidemic. The increasing prevalence is not the only concern in India. According to the ICMR India B study, in the phase 1, a good glycemic control, which is defined by HbA1c of less than 7%, was observed only in 31% of urban and 30.8% of rural subjects. The study concluded that glycemic control among patients with self-reported diabetes is poor in India, with less than a third of subjects exhibiting good glycemic control and a significant proportion having HbA1c levels of more than 10% even in urban areas. The standard treatment for type 2 diabetes involves initiation of monotherapy, which is usually with metformin, followed by sequential addition of other single agents when the glycemic control is not achieved or maintained for 3 months. The two relatively recent classes of oral antidiabetic medications, namely SGLT2 inhibitors and DPP4 inhibitors, have been commonly used in diabetes management because of their individual benefits based upon appropriate patient selection. A common advantage of these classes is the low risk of hypoglycemia and no additional weight gain. However, each individual agent may not be able to lower the HbA1c by more than 1%. Recent guidelines recommend the initial use of combination therapy when the HbA1c is more than 1.5% above the target. Early use of combination therapy leads to optimal glycemic control and better outcomes earlier compared to the staggered treatment approach. Fixed dose combinations offer the advantages of improved patient adherence, patient satisfaction, and lower overall healthcare costs. When the need for fixed dose combination has been established, drugs with complementary mechanism of action should be employed for optimum glycemic control. Fixed-dose combination of SGLT2 inhibitors and DPP4 inhibitors such as empagliflozin and linagliptin offers good glycemic control, early achievement of goal HbA1c, and pleiotropic benefits such as weight loss and blood pressure reduction. This combination has been used in India since last 1 year. There is evidence on this combination from various RCTs. However, there was no real-world evidence, especially from India. Real-world evidence can be helpful in bridging this knowledge gap. Coming to the methods of the study, this was an observational prospective study planned across 4 centers in India. A total of 251 patients were initiated on the fixed dose combination of empagliflozin and linagliptin and followed up for 12 weeks. The study was initiated in August 2018 and the last patient to complete follow-up was in January 2019. Patients initiated on the fixed drug combination were categorized into 4 groups: patients naive to DPP4 inhibitors and SGLT2 inhibitor use, patients previously using DPP4 inhibitors, patients previously using SGLT2 inhibitors, and patients already using SGLT2 inhibitors and DPP4 inhibitors individually being switched over to the fixed dose combination. HbA1c, fasting and postprandial blood sugar levels, weight and BP were recorded and compared at the end of 12 weeks. Use of anti-diabetic medications at baseline was also noted. Duration of diabetes mellitus and prevalence of other comorbidities was also accounted for. The primary endpoint was change in the glycated hemoglobin level from baseline at the end of 12 weeks in the total population, and the secondary endpoints were change in the glyco-HB levels at the end of 12 weeks in each of the 4 subgroups, change in fasting and postprandial blood sugar levels at the end of 12 weeks, change in the body weight at the end of 12 weeks, and change in systolic and diastolic blood pressure at the end of 12 weeks. Statistical analysis. Categorical variables were expressed as number of patients and percentage of the patients. Continuous variables were expressed as mean, median, and standard deviation and compared across the groups using Mann-Whitney U-test. Over-time comparison was done using Wilcoxon signed ranks test. The statistical software SPSS version 20 was used for analysis. P-value of less than 0.05 was considered as statistically significant. Coming to the results, of the 251 patients included in the study, 57%, which is 143 patients were males, and 108 patients, which is 43%, were females. The mean age of patients was 56.78 years with the standard deviation of around 10 years. The median duration of type 2 diabetes mellitus was 6.16 years. At baseline, 136 patients, which is 54.2% patients, had a pre-existing cardiovascular disease. Of the total patient population, 118 patients, which is 45% of the patients, were naive to both SGLT2 inhibitors and DPP4 inhibitors at baseline. 18% of the patients were naive to SGLT2 inhibitors and 15% were naive only to DPP4 inhibitors. 20% of patients, which is 49 patients, were receiving SGLT2 inhibitor and DPP inhibitor both as individual drugs and were interchanged with the fixed dose combination. Coming to the findings of the overall population, at the end of 12 weeks, the mean change in HbA1c in the overall population was reduced by 1.1%, and the mean baseline HbA1c was 8.86%. The mean change in fasting blood sugars was minus 32.8 milligram per deciliter, and the mean baseline was 176.2 milligram per deciliter. The mean change in the postprandial sugar was minus 60 milligram per deciliter, and the baseline postprandial sugar was 243. The mean weight change at the end of 2 weeks was minus 1.5 kgs. The mean baseline weight was 78.8 kgs. Blood pressure was minus 3 millimeter of mercury, and the baseline systolic blood pressure was 130.9 millimeter of mercury. The mean change in diastolic blood pressure was minus 1.7 millimeter of mercury. Each of these changes was statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001. So coming to the individual groups, starting with group 1, which was the group in which were not been taking SGLT2 inhibitors or DPP4 inhibitors previously. So at the end of 12 weeks, the mean HbA1c was reduced by 1.2% in these patients. Mean FBS was reduced by 35 milligram per deciliter, and mean ppbs was reduced by 45. The mean weight change was 1.6 kg, and there was mean change in systolic blood pressure by 4 millimeter of mercury and 1.6 millimeter of mercury of diastolic blood pressure. All these changes were statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001. Coming to the second group, which was the group which had patients which were taking DPP4 inhibitors but were not taking SGLT2 inhibitors. At the end of 12 weeks, the mean change in the HbA1c was a reduction by 1.16%. The mean change in the FBS was 34 milligram per deciliter, and also the ppbs had reduced. Mean reduction was 62 milligram per deciliter, and the mean weight change was negative 1.8 kgs in this group, and the mean change in the systolic blood pressure was minus 5.3 millimeter of mercury, and diastolic blood pressure was minus 2.4 millimeter of mercury. Each of these changes was considered statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001. Coming to the third group, this is the group which was taking SGLT2 inhibitors but were not taking DPP4 inhibitors. At the end of 12 weeks, the mean change in HbA1c was minus 1.3%. FBS mean reduction was minus 29.6 milligram per deciliter, and postprandial sugar was mean reduction was 47.8 milligram per deciliter. The mean weight change was negative 1.4 kgs, and the mean systolic blood pressure had reduced by 5.4 millimeter of mercury, and mean diastolic blood pressure had reduced by 2 millimeter of mercury. Each of these changes were considered statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001. So the fourth group of patients was the group where patients were using both DPP-4 inhibitors and SGLT2 inhibitors. However, they were changed to fixed dose combinations. At the end of 12 weeks, the mean change in HbA1c in these patients was reduction by 0.6%. The mean FPS level was reduced by 20, and mean ppps was reduced by 37 milligram of deciliter. All these changes were statistically significant with p-value of less than 0.001. However, the mean weight change, systolic diastolic blood pressure were not significant statistically. Coming to the discussion, in most cases of type 2 diabetes mellitus, monotherapy fails to reach or maintain target HbA1c with time. Thus, combination therapy is recommended soon or later in type 2 diabetes. Various pharmacological approaches may be added to metformin as a dual therapy or triple therapy, among which DPP-4 inhibitors and SGLT2 inhibitors play an important role. This study evaluated the effectiveness of the fixed-dose combination of empagliflozin and linagliptin in the real-world setting. The efficacy of combination was similar to that observed in clinical trials. The patient baseline characteristics are highly representative of day-to-day clinical practice. The results in each of these groups are comparable in terms of HbA1c lowering, reduction in the fasting and postprandial sugars, weight reduction, and blood pressure reduction. Findings in each of the subgroups and the overall population are statistically significant at the end of 12 weeks as compared to the baseline in this study. The findings represent a real-world setting where it may be practical to replace a failing regimen with a fixed-dose combination instead of adding another agent and increasing the pill burden. One of the subgroups of patients were receiving an SGLT2 inhibitors and DPP-4 inhibitors as an individual agent, and both were replaced with a fixed-dose combination of empagliflozin and linagliptin. In this subgroup as well, the hemoglobin HbA1c reduction was 0.6%, which was found to be statistically significant. Replacement of two individual agents with a fixed-dose combination is known to improve medication adherence, and this improvement in the HbA1c may be attributed to this. The therapy was started in patients with early type 2 diabetes right after metformin as second line, in others as third line or beyond, in certain patients with insulin, as well as used as replacement therapy. Thus, the findings of this study may be generalized to a broader population with evidence of its effectiveness across all the subgroups. This is the first real-world study with the fixed-dose combination in India across multiple centers in a broad range of patients. It included patients with early as well as long-standing type 2 diabetes and patients with or without cardiovascular disease. The efficacy of the combination is well studied in randomized controlled trials. However, its effectiveness in the real-world setting complements to the existing evidence and reassures the clinician. This study provides insight on the efficacy parameters and pleiotropic benefits in terms of weight and blood pressure reduction with the combination. One of the drawbacks of the study will be that complications, for example, genitourinary infections, were not taken into account. Coming to the conclusion, treatment of type 2 diabetes often requires combination of OHS to tackle the various pathophysiological defects of the disease and maximize the chance of reaching individual HbA1c targets. The combination of linagliptin and empagliflozin is attractive because their complementary modes of action contribute to improve blood glucose control in patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. without deteriorating the safety or tolerance profile of each of the compounds. Findings from the real-world complement the results from trials. Large real-world studies may add further value to the pool of evidence with this relatively new combination. Thank you.